Good morning. We welcome you to the video this morning. It's April 22nd, 2020. And on this Wednesday morning, it's beautiful and sunshiny outside, but we continue to face some difficult times. You know, life is hard. At times it seems that there's no hope. We're seeing such a time as confusion grips our land and the hearts of the people are growing weary during this facing of COVID-19. Now, as people begin to shout out and demand their wants and their needs, it seems to me that even the leadership of our country is becoming frustrated. In the first months, you'll remember, while facing the outburst of coronavirus, they ordered a shutdown of our society for the sake of saving lives. Now, the winds have shifted. In the last few days, I've noticed the thought is that we must open up our living for the sake of the economy. This should not surprise us. Remember, we live in a nation who destroys thousands of unborn babies for the sake of making someone who didn't want the baby happy. Wouldn't that same country be willing for a lot of adults to die for the sake of their own happiness or economy? You know, before we ever knew of a coronavirus, we talked about what good is life if you can't have a quality life. You remember those conversations? Why live if you can't enjoy it? But then when fear gripped our nation and we thought of the possibility of many dying from this pandemic, we rushed to shut down the things that we enjoyed about life for the sake of saving lives. Now, one could always argue that what good is all the pleasures of life if you're dead? While others will say, well, what good is life when you can't have the things you enjoy? Let me give you some encouragement this morning, my friend. If you're trusting in God, He has given you life and He is faithful to meet your need. Don't put your faith in what others may do for you. Put your faith in God. He is able to work in the hearts and lives of even the leaders of a great country to move them to that which is best for His people. Let me give you an illustration. There was another time when people were hurting. Their leader was a prophet of God, and he himself was ready just to die. Jeremiah was his name, and in chapter 3 of Lamentations we read the story. God's Word gives us an account of those hard times. In chapter 3 of Lamentations, verses 1 through 8, Jeremiah lets us see his heart, what he's feeling in those hard times. Listen as it reminds us most of what we're going through today as Christians. He says, I'm a man that hath seen affliction by the rod of His wrath. He hath led me and brought me into darkness, but not into light. Surely against me is He turned. He turneth His hand against me all the day. My faith and my skin hath He made old. He hath broken my bones. He hath builded against me and compassed me with gall and travail. He hath set me in dark places, as they that be dead of old. He hath hedged me about that I cannot get out. He hath made my chain heavy. Also when I cry and shout, He shutteth out my prayer. I'll stop right there. That's the first 8 verses of Lamentation chapter 3, but you can see the heart of the prophet as he is crying out to God, or actually crying out that he doesn't understand why things are like they are for him, a man of God. You can read the rest of those verses and continue to see even more of Jeremiah's description of how he was feeling in those dark times. But we come down to Lamentations chapter 3 and verses 22 and 23, and there we see something unusual has happened. Something has spoken into his soul and into his heart, and he's reminded of some things. Jeremiah writes these words there in Lamentation 3:22. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we're not consumed, because His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Yes, our God is a faithful God, and even in hard times, He does not forget us, and He is faithful to do as He has promised, to take care of us, to meet our need, and to supply that which is best for us. Thomas Obadiah Chisholm wrote a song many years ago that echoed these thoughts from Lamentations 3:22 and 23. You'll remember the song. It's entitled, Great is Thy Faithfulness. I want to read just the first and third verses in the chorus for you this morning as we close this video. The first verse says, Great is Thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning in Thee. Thou changest not. Thy compassions, they fail not. As Thou hast been, Thou forever wilt be. Verse 3 says this, Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth. Thine, O dear presence, to cheer and to guide. Strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is Thy faithfulness. Great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning new mercies I see. All I have needed Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Well, God bless you. May you find encouragement from that which God has promised today. Have a great day, and I hope to see you here tomorrow.